True Hoop TV. That's my best Henry impersonation without actually shaving my head. My name's Amin Elhassan, and joining me today from ESPN Dallas is Craig Hoffman. Craig, this is your True Hoop TV debut. Tell the good people what you're about.
I'm about entertainment. I'm about basketball, and I think that makes me a good fit for True Hoop TV.
That's a bad answer, but we're going to let it slide because it is your first
Hate
time.
Hard starting already. Man, this is garbage.
My name's Amin Elhassan. This is Hate Hard with Amin. Exactly. So, Craig, you cover the Mavericks for ESPN Dallas, for the radio station there. This is a team that, if you look at preseason prognostications, they're anywhere from they should be competing for a conference title to they'll be fighting for a playoff spot. Why is it so hard to get a pulse on where this team actually is?
Well, because the Western Conference is a mess. I mean, there's just so many good teams. There's like that group at the top. To me, the Mavericks are in that. It's 5 teams. It's the Thunder, as long as Durant eventually comes back healthy. The Warriors, to me, are in there. Then, obviously, the Clippers, the Spurs are in there. And to me, the Mavs can compete with any of those teams. And then you've got, about 8, 9, 10 deep. And everybody is going to try, including, even at the bottom, the Lakers, who have no business trying because they're going to be terrible.
All right, so Mark Cuban, to me, he's one of my favorite owners because I think he's mastered, probably better than anyone, the art of making the sale. And what I mean is, whatever his stance is today, it sounds really convincing. You really believe he believes this. So I'll give you a great example. A couple of years ago, they chose not to re-sign Tyson Chandler. They chose not to re-sign J.J. Barea. They said, hey, we got to stay flexible. These guys are coming to thank you for what they've done, but moving forward, we're about something different. And fast forward to 2014, obviously they traded for Tyson Chandler back, and now we're hearing after J.J. Barea's gone on waivers from Minnesota that he may be coming back. What is the thinking or philosophy behind bringing those guys back?
I don't think Mark looks at it as a mistake. They swung and they missed. They had a plan. It was a good plan. It was a reasonable plan. It's reasonable as signing a superstar can be. They had a good pitch. All the superstars that came here and looked at it, except for basically Dwight, said, hey, we like what you're selling. We just like something else more for whatever reason. LeBron going home, Melo staying in New York for all the reasons he's described. So it was a good plan. They tried. They realized that you have to have one of the best 12, whatever you want to put the number at, players in the league to win a title. And they made a swing at getting one of those guys for when Dirk retires, and it didn't work. So now that didn't work and they don't see anybody else on the horizon immediately, and they're trying to maximize the end of Dirk's career, they're going back to guys who they know fit well with him, and Barea comes in, runs that pick and roll with the second unit, which Dirk plays a ton of minutes with, and it's successful. It's hopefully close to what it was a couple of years ago, and Tyson is the perfect complement to Dirk defensively and is a pretty good offensive player in his own unique way too. So they bring him back in, and they hope they can recreate some of that magic.
All right. For my money, one of the things that people love to say is that, it's not a rivalry until they play each other in the playoffs. But for my money, the most entertaining rivalry is between the Rockets and the Mavericks. These two franchises, I don't want to say they don't like each other because I think it's just business and they take it as such, but there's definitely a certain amount of pleasure they get from needling one another. The centerpiece of this year's version of the rivalry was Chandler Parsons. Obviously, he was on that team option. The Rockets declined because they thought they'd be able to keep him and attract someone else. He ends up signing this huge offer sheet with Dallas. Do you think this is a good investment? Is he worth a near max deal that he got? Or was this just the cost to kind of get a talent of that caliber, not necessarily what he's worth?
I think it's going to wind up being fine once the cap jumps. I think it's a perfectly reasonable number once the cap jumps. Are you overpaying on the front end? Maybe. But if you look at it this way, and I know Tim McMahon, ESPNDallas.com's Tim McMahon wrote about this extensively in the offseason after the deal went down. Think of the combined price of your small and power forward of Dirk and Parsons together. That's a bargain for those two because Dirk's only making $8 million this year. So because Dirk did the anti-Kobe, if you will, and took that super team-friendly deal, like, you can do this kind of stuff, and some other teams can't afford to do it. So Parsons winds up being maybe a little bit over what you would want to pay for him, but it doesn't really matter because you can afford to do it. And he's a perfect fit. I mean, we hear all this stuff coming out of, like, Sacramento, positionless basketball, all this kind of stuff. Mavs have been doing that for years and calling it something different. Different guys handling the ball. I mean, last year, Monte Ellis played a lot more point guard, if you want to look at it as handling the ball, than Jose Calderon. And Calderon was the shooter in the corner, but Calderon was technically the point guard and Monte was technically the two guard. Well, Parsons will run some of the offense through him. He's also a shooter. He's a guy who does so many different things in an offense that revolves around pieces moving and being able to do different things. He's the perfect fit here. And then if Rick can utilize some of his size and make him into a decent defender, you're looking at a really good player for the Mavs, at least in my opinion.
Craig Hoffman, thank you very much.
Thanks, Amin.